How's it going, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Mavs Step Back Podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host and Dallas basketball colleague, Matt Galatzin. And tonight, I got to show off my Mavs cat shirt here. Look at that, Matt. By the way, this is a retro Step Back Podcast T-shirt. We've got some new ones on the way. We're gonna wear them on the pod and let y'all see them. And if y'all are interested, we may start selling those things. They're pretty cool.
I have an even more retro version of that one, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, you have a
original.
What's it called? What was that? An aqua green?
I don't even remember.
Full aqua green with the cartoon faces on it. That was something. But anyway.
The Charlotte Hornets colors.
Yeah. So the Mavs, they played the Celtics tonight. They went up by a ton. They were up by, I think, as many as 23, maybe 23 or 24 at one point.
Yeah, it was more than 20 at one point.
And Luka, he just had an otherworldly first half, 24 points on 9 shots, I believe. Didn't only miss 1 3. And then in the second half, things got scary. And I knew as soon as you told me midway through the third quarter that you already had your gamer written for this one, that they were going to end up scaring us. And it was a 2-possession game with like 15 seconds left at the end. And then the Mavs finally put it away, 113 to 108 over the Celtics. Luka, he had a monster night. You have his final stat line?
Yeah, well, first of all, didn't it get – I thought it got down to 2 points.
It did.
Yeah, so 1 possession game, and I just about threw my computer through the window. Luka's 36, 8 and 5, 11 and 15 from the field, 7 of 11 from 3, 8 turnovers, but I feel like a lot of those came in the second half.
Yeah. He had a monstrous game. He kind of got frustrated there at the end. He was a little too aggressive. I mean, I understand why he was upset with the refs, but he wasn't going to get anything, and he just kept on and kept on. He finally got technical, and it was at that point where and then Rick benched him after that, and I was thinking, oh no, here we go. This is not going to end well for the Mavs. You're benching, and we'll get into the KP stuff here in a little bit too, but yeah, Luka, he was a little feisty tonight, and you like that in a way, but then when it gets to that point where the game's getting close and he gets a technical and he's helping out the Celtics, it's like, hold it back just a little bit. I will say, though, Jason Tatum for the Celtics, he was jawing every trip down, too, and they didn't hit him with one. And then Jaylen Brown did the fist pump the air thing that KP got a tech for in the playoffs last year. Yeah, he didn't get a tag for that either. So it is what it is. But the Mavs win. A win is a win is a win. And now they shift their focus to New York at Madison Square Garden on Friday night prime time against the New York Knicks. And they owe the Knicks one. They owe them a couple, but they owe them one for how they did them last year. And hopefully KP can have a bigger game and finish out the game in New York than he did tonight. But before we get into all that, what were your initial takeaways from this game, the Celtics game?
It was a lot of what scared me last year, how they couldn't close out games. I thought that kind of reared its head again, and I don't understand why. I felt like this team had kind of turned that corner. They've done a better job this year of closing out games and winning closer games, especially lately. And something just frazzled them tonight. I don't know what it was. The Luka tech kind of exasperated things, and then it just got exponentially worse. They almost blew a game against a team, frankly, they should beat on any night. The Celtics are not a very good team this year. They're 7th in the East, I think, which is good for about 10th or 11th probably in the West. So, and now they're going to face a Knicks team that is 5th in the East and has beaten them 3 of the last 4 times. I know they've got some different players on there now, but it's hopefully they get their issues from tonight figured out by Friday and get things rolling back in the right direction. Because I know it's a win, and I agree that a win is a win, but you don't want to blow a 23-point lead and barely win because Rick's going to come after you in practice the next day.
And I mean, look, we've seen it earlier this season too, where the Mavs, they do this. They build a huge lead, and actually the three previous wins before this one were by 20 points or more in each win. So they could have done it again tonight, but I guess at some point, the Celtics weren't going to continue shooting as bad from three as they did in the first half. I get that. But I mean, at least they held on. That would be my silver lining, because last season, Matt, this is a game that they would like. I would have bet money on them losing last year with the Celtics going on a run like they did towards the end. I would have bet anything that they'd end up blowing this game, but they didn't. They held on, so that's good. I mean, they win another clutch game, even though it shouldn't have been a clutch game, and hopefully stuff like this, pays dividends when we get to the postseason, and they get in some of these tight situations, and they've learned how to win in those situations, even if it could have been avoided beforehand. So,
I think they kind of lost focus at one point because they were so efficient in the first half. They only had I think 8 turnovers midway through the third quarter, and then all of a sudden, shit just started flying all over the place. Yeah. And they ended up with, they ended up with 16 turnovers. So, I mean, that as many turnovers in the last, 15 minutes as they did in the first, 32 minutes or whatever it was. So 33 minutes. So that obviously played a huge factor.
The thing with the turnovers, I understand Luka's going to have turnovers every now and then, and his turnovers, he had a couple of really bad ones tonight, but the ones that irritate me the most, and I mean, we've seen it over the last handful of games now, the Mavs really have some issues inbounding the ball. I don't know what the issue is there, but they just it's not even close sometimes. And it's part of the reason why the Celtics got back into this when they had at least 3 turnovers off of inbounds tonight. And I don't understand why they can't get the ball in. And it's usually Richardson, I feel like, passing the ball in where that happens. I don't know how they fix that, but it's one of those things that just really kind of sticks out to me. And it's one of those things that you're not going to be able to get away with in the playoffs.
I have a solution, actually. It's really complicated, but what it really boils down to is that don't let Richardson do it anymore.
Yeah.
Especially when you have Brunson and Luka on the floor, make one of them do it. They're the 2 best passers on the team.
Yeah. Or Trey Burke.
Richardson,
don't let Trey Burke do it either.
No, I know you don't want Luka doing it necessarily because you want him to get the ball in his hands as quickly as possible. But have Brunson do it. Have literally anybody else do it at this point, because tonight was bad, and they're going to be in those situations in the playoffs or in the play-in game, whichever they end up in first, and Richardson's not going to cut it.
A little tidbit here. While you were saying that, I was looking at what Mavs PR has been putting out, and like you said, Luka, he finished the game with 36 points, 11 of 15 from the field, 7 of 11 from 3, and he had 8 rebounds, 5 assists. And they said that Luka is now tied for the NBA lead with Jokic with 15 games. That's the most games, tied for the most games with 30-plus points, 5-plus rebounds, and 5-plus assists this season. So, and in my opinion, Jokic is the MVP favorite at this point, just because of how he's played. I know the Nuggets, they're not as high up in the Western Conference standings as they probably should be right now, but they're getting there. And the higher they go, the more likely it is that Jokic is going to win MVP. So that's a good stat there. They had another one here. Let me see. Do you have Dorian's stat line? I was going to bring that up too. I can't find it now though.
Yeah. 11 points, 4 of 7 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, 9 rebounds, 2 steals, plus 13.
I want to say that was a season high in rebounds for Dorian too. So
I believe it is.
He had of those 2 misses. I didn't realize he was 3 of 5 in this game. It felt like he shot worse from that, because the 2 that he missed were those wide open threes that you get so annoyed that he can't hit. But I guess he can't hit them all. He's an X factor for this team. JJ Redick's going to be an X factor. We talked about him on the last pod when we did the live locker room. And he finally, came out. He put Dallas in his bio. He told Mavs Twitter to chill the F out earlier today on his podcast. So all is good there. And he should be a factor once he eventually gets to Dallas, and he's supposedly meeting up with the team in New York, and he'll have media availability and all that. And then it'll probably be another week or a little over before he actually plays. But that's the kind of stuff, with Finney Smith tonight, where he had a couple of those wide open shots that didn't go in. That's where Redick could be a real factor for this team, hitting down those wide open threes. He's excellent moving off the ball. I think adding him into the mix could potentially keep games like this from getting out of, almost out of control. You can reel it in a little bit. You can add more consistent shot making. You're not going through those real long offensive droughts when you add him into the mix. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. That's when they traded for him, my immediate thought was move Dorian to the bench and start JJ. I know he's 36, but having him and Richardson out there offensively gives you so much more offensive firepower than having Dorian out there. And Dorian, I love him for what he does, but I don't think he's necessarily starting caliber. I think he's more suited for a bench role, and I think he'd thrive on the bench role. And it adds one more piece and moves another piece down the line, and it makes you a deeper team. And having JJ out there is just so dangerous because he already runs around like crazy. We talked about this last time. He's going to wear out defenders. He's going to get open shots. And I remember you telling me a stat, I think last time we recorded on Locker Room, about his open 3-point percentage. And I think my jaw just like hit the floor because he's such a good shooter. And
all right. Yeah. So that stat, it was on wide open catch and shoot jump shots this season. JJ Redick's shooting close to 90% on those. So that's insane. I can't wait to see it. No, I don't think I'd start him in place of Dorian. I would honestly, Matt, with the way Josh Richardson is playing, I'd almost kind of want to replace him in the starting lineup. I know he's been good defensively on these smaller guards and everything, but man, offensively, he's been ice cold for about 5 or 6 games now. It's gotten to the point where you almost wonder if he's hurting more than helping at this point. You think this is something he can break out of, or you think this is just, this is who he is at this point?
No, I think he can break out of it. We saw him play well, before this cold streak started. So there's no reason to think he can't get it back. You can see signs of it. He's still the team's best defender. So at least in my opinion. So I would keep him on the floor. Maybe having Redick out there to space things out a little bit more helps him get more open shots too. It just having Redick out there is going to do so many different things than having Dorian stand in a corner. So obviously they'll have to play with it and they'll have to see what works best. But from my opinion, I think that Josh Richardson should be a lock-in starter because he's better at everything than Dorian, even when he's cold.
Yeah, and look, over his last, I'm looking at his last 5 games. So he was 3 of 9 tonight. Not terrible, but not good either. It was 3 of 9 tonight. He was 4 of 7 the game before. 1 of 11 in the loss to the New Orleans Pelicans, and 4 of 14 in the loss to the Indiana Pacers. And then he was 3 of 6 against Minnesota. So what you're looking at here, Matt, is as long as Josh Richardson just isn't absolutely terrible from the field, the Mavs are generally winning these games. But the 2 losses in the last 5 games that came to the Pelicans and the Pacers, he combined to go 5 of 25 from the field. So I think it's safe to say that, as long as he just doesn't hit rock bottom, the Mavs will be okay. Moving on to our next topic, and we're not going to go too long tonight, but I did want to get into this a little bit too. Kristaps Porzingis, he had a pretty good game tonight. What was his final stat line? You got it pulled up there?
Yeah, 19 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks, plus 15. He was 6 of 15 from the floor, 3 of 7 from 3. So
yeah, and
okay,
in 32 minutes too. So that probably answers my question before I even get to it, but he hardly played any in the fourth. I mean, he got stuck in there at the end for rebounding purposes, but he hardly didn't play in the fourth, and that was mainly during when the Celtics were making their huge comeback, and he was only 6-15 from the field, but he had a pretty good game. He threw out a couple of assists, like you said, 19 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks. He had a really decent game, and for whatever reason, Rick decided not to play him in the fourth quarter when it mattered most. So, I mean, you think that was just a minutes thing since he had already gotten up to 32 minutes? Or, I mean, what do you think was going on there?
I don't know, and I get it. Like, they're concerned because they don't want him to get hurt again, because not just for the sake of the team necessarily either, but probably also because if he gets hurt again, fans are going to flip out.
Yeah.
And it might have had something to do with minutes, but whatever the case, I just don't get it, because when he's not in there, I know he's not the best defender in the world, but when he's not in there, the rim is wide open. There's nobody else that can protect it. And I know they throw in Melli now, or they can throw in somebody. It's not the same. So, and you saw that when he went out, Boston really started to make a move because they could do basically whatever they wanted. And, here we are. They barely escaped.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think Rick could have at least put him in there for maybe 35, get about 3 more minutes, given how well he was playing and how, I mean, really on the defensive end. I mean, the rebounds were nice, the points were nice, but defensively, KP was good. KP tonight, he was the guy that you could see potentially making a difference in a playoff series, as good as he was on defense. So I don't know, man. I just kind of got the feeling during that fourth quarter that Rick was treating him more like a situational role player, since the Celtics went so small, instead of treating him like a perceived second star next to Luka. And I mean, I don't know if KP was really frustrated about it or not. I didn't see his body language or how he was acting about it, but I mean, I would have been kind of upset if I was him. Now the Mavs end up getting the win, and then everybody forgets about it tomorrow and looks forward to the Knicks game. But if they don't win this game, then Rick's catching some heat for that one. But yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'd like to think it was just a minutes thing, and it wasn't just Rick thinking, okay, I can't play him against the small ball lineup, and just rolling with who he had out there. So, by the way, shout out to Nico Melli. We talked about he didn't play a lot tonight, but every time he's gone in there so far for the Mavs, he does something positive, and I'm super excited about it. We were talking with our guy Kirk during the game, and I said, you know what? This is exactly what we thought it would be, or what we hoped it would be. Nico Melli is an upgrade over Dwight Powell, and that's not saying very much, but that makes a difference, because the Mavs get to steal some minutes there. I love it. Nico Melli, he can play some defense, and he can hit a 3 every now and then.
He looks like an NBA player.
Yeah,
which always helps.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited about it. We haven't gotten to see JJ Redick out there yet, but so far the Melli Mountain experience has been something to behold.
Yeah. Here's my question: is Friday night's game the first time KP will play in New York since the trade, or did he play against them in New York
he
this season?
he played in both games last year, and he played well too. I mean, he put up some pretty big numbers too, but the Mavs overall kind of let him down.
That
So
season seemed long ago, even though it was closer than the previous season before. You know what I mean? It's just
yeah. And you hated it for KP too, because he, like I said, he played so well in those games. I don't remember his efficiency. I just remember him putting up some big numbers, and it just didn't translate over to wins. But I think they can. Like I said, they owe the Knicks one, and I don't think I don't think there will be the same pressure on the Mavs like there was, last year. And it was, let's see, that was really early in the season, both of those games. So KP hadn't been back very long, and the team didn't really have a bunch of chemistry established and everything. And as well as the Mavs are playing now, I think if they can find a way to contain Julius Randle, who used to be a versus Mavs all-star, but now he's so good so consistently, he's no longer in that category. He's just an all-star. I think the Mavs can find a way to win that one. I think they can outscore Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau. Is that how you say it?
I think so.
I had a moment there. I'm sorry, guys. I think they can outscore one of his teams. So we'll see how it goes. And then they'll finish off the road trip Saturday at Washington. And that one kind of scares me a little bit, because Russell Westbrook's been going off lately, and I don't know if Bradley Beal will play. But anyway, so things looking good for the Mavs. They're sitting in 7th, all alone in the West. With the trades that the Portland Trailblazers and the Denver Nuggets made, the Trailblazers got Norman Powell from Toronto, and the Nuggets got Aaron Gordon from the Magic. I don't know, Matt. I don't think they're going to end up catching either one of those teams in the standings. I kind of feel like 7th is where the Mavs are locked in right now. Obviously, you don't know where injuries will happen during the season, and the Mavs, they have a super, super easy schedule in May where they can rack up a bunch of wins together. But I think that might be one reason why the Mavs are being so conservative on, these back-to-backs and not playing Luka and KP against teams that if they did play them against, it'd be an automatic win. They might just think that they're locked into that 7th spot, given, all the losses that racked up during the COVID part of this season. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the case. I still hate it, though, because that's 2 wins that you could have had that could make a difference at the end. So it's kind of a catch-22, I guess.
Yeah.
You want them to be healthy, and you'd like to think that you can beat those teams without one or both of those guys, but that's just what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do. So there really isn't an advantageous spot to be in the West standings anyway.
Yeah, it's tough.
I mean, obviously you don't want to be in the play-in, but even if you're in 6th, you're going to be in a bad matchup. If you're 5th, you're going to. It's so tough that it doesn't really matter. Just make the playoffs, see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different opinions out there, but basically your options for the Mavs right now, just looking at the standings and assuming that Denver and Portland don't just escalate all the way up to the top 3. Basically, the Mavs are looking at 3 teams right now that they could play. They could either be the 8th seed and play the Utah Jazz, the 7th seed where they're at now, and they'd either play the Clippers or the Suns. Most likely the Suns. And either one, the Suns, the Mavs have not played well versus the Suns since they drafted Luka. I think they're like 1-9 overall. 1-3 since the Suns got Chris Paul, but I think that's right. Maybe I don't think that last one's right.
Close enough.
I don't know. Anyway, the point is they have a hard time against the Suns. They can't beat them. The Clippers, I don't know, man. I'd almost feel more confident against the Clippers than I would the Suns, just given that the Mavs won the season series. Both wins were complete blowouts. And then, they just added Rondo. So there'd be a little bit extra juice there, I feel like, for a playoff series. So, like you said, there's no good answer, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. If Luka and KP are 100%, that's the main thing, though. I give them a fighting chance against any team they play, because we saw it last year. If KP didn't get injured, if he didn't tear his meniscus and not be able to play but 2.5 games, Mavs might have moved on last year too, as good as they were playing. So
I have a hot take.
What's that?
I would rather play anybody else in the West than the Suns.
It's been that bad when the Mavs play them. I mean, and they play them well, generally throughout the game. But then when it gets to the fourth quarter, they just completely fall. Chris Paul just carves them up. There's either Chris Paul or Devin Booker hitting a game-winning three. It just seems like that's always in the cards when the Mavs and Suns get together. So I hope that one does. I'm with you. I hope that doesn't happen. I do not want that matchup because I won't have any hair after however many games it goes. But good win for the Mavs tonight, even though it was stressful. Hopefully they get another one in New York. KP, I desperately want that for him because he hasn't had it since the trade. So we're hoping for the best. I think Luka will show out at Madison Square Garden, and hopefully KP will too. But Matt, anything else before we take off?
No, I'm good. I'm looking forward to seeing KP finally give it to New York. Their fans suck, so I really want that for him too.
Dude, I've seen some of the nastiest stuff get said to KP.
I had a Knicks guy threaten to come to my house and kick my ass on Twitter like multiple times. He sent me my parents' old address. I was like, well, my parents don't live there anymore, so I just messaged him back, and I was like, all right, man, come on, I'm ready. So I hope he didn't show up to that family's house.
I'll never forget, and by the way, this is related to this Mavs cat right here, but I'll never forget Fish. He posted a picture of some guy in a cowboy hat, and he was screaming. He had his arms up screaming and everything, and I quote tweeted it and said, "This is the human reincarnation of Mavs cat." And some dude came on there like, "Hey, bro, that's my cousin," and everything. And then Kirk got in on it too, and he threatened to drive to Washington D.C. to beat up Kirk. That was amazing.
It all originated from a compliment.
Yeah. Anyway, long story short, he ended up getting his account suspended, and we never heard from him again. But I'll never forget that. That was one of the funniest moments on Mavs Twitter I've been a part of. So anyway, guys, we appreciate it. Hope you go and like, rate, and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers. And once we get there, we're going to give out 2 tickets to one lucky subscriber to the Mavs game of your choice. So hit that subscribe button. We're almost there. And we appreciate it, guys. Y'all have a great rest of the weekend. And Custom Built Trailers in Mississippi, if you need a trailer, come see me. We appreciate it, guys. Y'all have a great rest of the weekend.